So what is the Pythagorean theorem here? What we've got up at the top is it says the Pythagorean theorem is a relationship between the lengths of the three sides of a right triangle. And I've underlined right triangle because this only works for right triangles. So I've got a big picture of a triangle here, which is a right triangle. How do I know that this is a right triangle? Yeah, this square down here in the corner tells us that this is a right angle or a 90-degree angle. So we know that this is a right triangle. What we want to be able to do first is we want to be able to label the sides in this triangle. So this is our Pythagorean theorem over here. If C is the length of the hypotenuse, and this hypotenuse is always the longest side, or it's the side that is opposite this right angle here. So if we go across from the right angle, we would label this side C. A and B are the lengths of the other two sides. So over here we have two shorter sides. We're just going to label them A and B. So if we've labeled these C, A, and B, then the Pythagorean theorem is that C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And this is what you have to remember. Okay? C squared equals A squared plus B squared, and how to find which side is C in this. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here of questions we can answer using the Pythagorean theorem. So here's a standard question. We've got a triangle. We know it's a right angle triangle because of the little square in the corner. And they want us to find the length of the unknown side. So they've labeled this side here as 12. They've labeled this one down here as 5. This one over here is the one that we don't know. The first thing that we want to do when we have a triangle like this is we want to label those sides. A, B, and C. So we find our right angle here. We go across, and we're going to label this side as C. It doesn't matter where we put the A and the B, so I'm just going to put A over here, and then I'm going to put B down here. Okay. Then we want to write down our equation. What is our equation for the Pythagorean theorem? What is it, Logan? I said you'd have to remember this. What is it? We just had it on the last page. What is it? What is it, Logan? Mm-hmm. The whole thing, yeah. So, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Okay? That is our Pythagorean theorem. Next thing we want to do is we want to put the numbers in. Okay? So I'll just say numbers here. We have a number for A. What is A here? Well, it's 12. So where we have A, we're going to sub in 12. We've got a number for B, which is 5. So where we see the B, we're going to put in 5. We don't know what C is, so we're just going to leave this as C squared. So we got our numbers in there. Next step, we want to simplify this. So how can we simplify this? Well, we've got 12 squared. Now what does 12 squared mean? It means 12 times 12. So 12 times 12 is 144 plus 5 squared. 5 times 5 is 25. And we still have the C squared over here. And then we can add these two numbers together. 144 plus 25 gives us 169. And the last step is that we want to solve. Oh, that's not how you spell solve. Put my L and my V together there. We want to solve for our variable. Okay, so our variable here is c. We've got c squared equals 169. How do we solve for c? Well, we do the opposite of squaring it. And the opposite of squaring it is the square root. So c is going to be the square root of 169. And your calculator should have a square root button on it. We just punch that in, 169 square root, or square root 169. And the calculator will give us our answer. In this case, the answer is 13. And so there's our final answer. The length of side C is 13. Okay? Good? All right, so we got a second example here, and we're going to do it pretty much the same way. We're going to follow these 5 steps. Okay. And you guys are going to help me with this one. So take a look at this triangle. Okay? First thing we want to do, I'll do this one in another color here. Number 1, we want to label our sides, A, B, and C. How do we find out which side is C? Always start with C. I'm going to put this in brackets. C first. Riley, how did you do that? Now you want to know which one is C. Which side is C? Let's go back up to this one here. What did I do to find C over here? I started from my right angle, and I went diagonally across. So, where's my right angle here, Kurt? Where do I go if I'm going across the triangle from that? Yeah. So in this case, our C is this side down here. Now we want to label the other two A and B. And it doesn't matter which is which. So we'll say A is 20, and we'll say that B is X. So we've got it labeled. Next up, the equation. What is the equation we use for the Pythagorean theorem? Kurt. Now it's C squared, A squared, plus B squared. Next up, we want to put in these numbers. Okay? So which of those letters do we have numbers for? Logan, what letter do we have number for? A and C, absolutely. So where C is, I'm going to put 25 squared. Where A is, I'm going to put 20 squared still, plus this B squared here. Okay. Next up, I want to simplify this. But before I do that, next step is we want to simplify this thing. So we can simplify where we have the numbers. We've got 25, so we punch into our calculator. 25 squared, we get 625. We can punch in the 20 squared, and we get 400. And now we want to solve. Now this one's a little different than the one that we did before. Up above, we could add those two numbers together, and then we had C squared on one side, and we had a number on the other side. We can't add these two together here because they're on opposite sides of the equation. But we want to solve for this b here. We want to get b squared all by itself. So what do I need to get this b squared all by itself? Think back to Unit 3-4 when we did solving equations. How can I get rid of this 400 on this side? Yeah, or subtract 400 here. And if I do that on one side of the equation, what do I have to do on the other side, Logan? Exact same thing. So I'm going to subtract 400 over there as well. So that's going to leave me with b squared on this side. 625 minus 400 works out to 225. So I've got 225 equals b squared. What do I have to do to that 225 to get b? I have to take the square root. So I punch this into my calculator. Square root 225, and I'm going to get that B is 15. So how long is side B? It is 15, whatever these are measured in. Doesn't tell us in the question here whether these are centimeters or meters, so it's just B equals 15.